is Your Life, an American television tradition brought to you by Pay, the toothbrush with anti-cavity design. Now, here he is, Mr. This Is Your Life himself, Ralph Edwards. Ralph was a passenger on that bus you see there, coming to a stop in front of this lovely home in Beverly Hills, California. You can see the musicians piling out, and they're going to set up their instruments. There's Anita Gordon, our singing star, with Ralph. And here he is now, as he moves into the scene.
Well, here we go. Anita, you go on up there and ring the bell. Vaughn, can you guys start the serenade under the tree there? Go ahead, or up here. Don't get your musical instruments wet.
These little words, oh, what I'd give for that wonderful phrase. To hear those three little words, that's all I'd live for the rest of my days. And for I feel in my heart, I feel sincerely. No other words can tell it quite so clearly. Three little words.
Come on here a minute, will you? Look out, come out far enough. Harry, are you enjoying this surprise serenade?
Well, this is really...
Three little words, that's one of your songs, isn't it?
It is.
Well, our song has four little words. You want to hear it, Harry? All right. Anita, here we go.
This is your life.
Yes, Harry Ruby, baseball fan extraordinary, gifted composer of songs that have kept two generations singing and dancing, beloved friend of many of the greats of show business. Harry Ruby, tonight, this is your life. How about that, fellas? Run, don't get your instruments wet. There's a little orange juice flowing here in Beverly Hills. You know lovely Anita Gordon, I'm sure, Harry.
Oh, Harry.
I am speechless, Ralph.
Well,
really.
sure you would be. Eileen, we got him, honey. Mrs. Ruby back there. Well, now, listen, Anita, you get in here. We don't want you to hurt your coiffure. After all, you've been at the hairdresser all day. She's going to help us fill this night with song. Anita is, as you, Harry, have filled the years and the world with your music. Now, we have surprises galore waiting for you at our Burbank studio. So, Anita, you take Harry's arm and help me escort him to the limousine. As a matter of fact, Eileen, has he got...
We last saw them in Beverly Hills. Our This Is Your Life host, Ralph Edwards, and his guest for tonight, ever popular and talented songwriter, Harry Ruby.
Hey, Harry. We're being greeted by another of your great songs, Who's Sorry Now? But the real theme song of your life you didn't write. It's this one. That is almost as important as any hit song you've ever written.
Harry Ruby is probably the greatest baseball fan in the world.
And that's a fellow who knows whereof he speaks.
Now, wait a minute.
You and he were kids together up in the Bronx, the great clown prince of baseball.
That's Al Schacht.
Flown here tonight from St. Petersburg, Florida, just to be with you, Al Schacht. Oh, we had quite a lot of fun surprising him. You know, it just never rains in Beverly Hills, but it started to rain over there tonight.
It did.
And we didn't know whether we were going to get the song in and all that or not. Harry's interest in baseball goes way back, doesn't it, Al?
Yes, Ralph. In 1923, Harry was living in Pelham, New York.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to play with the New Rochelle Fire Department team.
Is that right?
Of course, he couldn't play with them because he wasn't a fireman.
Yeah, so?
He joined the fire department. Remember, Harry, as a gag, when I wrote to all the big league club owners and managers about a great recruit second baseman I have for them? And then finally, Clark Griffith wired me and asked me to send this great second baseman to him in Biloxi, Mississippi, where the Washington Club was training at the time.
Who was the recruit, Harry? You were... Finally, the big day arrives, Harry, and you convince Clark Griffith to let you play second base, your position, in an exhibition game against Baltimore?
That was right.
Yeah.
Now, the big day was in Baltimore. It was on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. Harry is out there. practicing on double play balls. He said, if I can only make a double play. And so he was working out for 2 hours on double plays. Before the game, I got on the loudspeaker announcing the lineups. I said, ladies and gentlemen, the Washington club takes great pleasure in taking the blanket off the greatest recruit second baseman that ever come out of a big league training camp, Harry Ruby. And he got a big hand. The first man up for Baltimore singled. The next man hit for a perfect double play. What happened, Harry?
Al, my knees are shaking. It's very hard for me to find the words I would like to say, but I cannot find the words I would like to say about that because you're telling it. And you promised me in your restaurant in New York, the Al Schacht restaurant, only 3 months ago, you'd never tell that story.
I'll tell you. I've got to tell the story because I'm on the spot here.
Look, if you guys made a pact, you can let it go.
No pact. He missed a double play, and Clark Griffith came in after the game, and he says, where is Harry Ruby? And Ruby says, here I am, and Clark Griffith says, when you missed that double play, I asked for waivers for you, and I give you unconditional release. And Harry said, that's not fair, Mr. Griffith. How about let me play against Boston tomorrow?
Al Schacht, Harry's interest in baseball is actually a serious one, isn't it?
Oh, yes, I think these pictures will prove it.
Oh, this is marvelous.
Let's see some of them here.
This is when he was at his best.
This here. Now, what's this first one?
That's the Cardinals. He was with every ball club.
Yes. And then this one right here.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, this is when he just bent down, but the ball went through him.
That's the Cincinnati uniform. Well, thank you for coming here tonight, Al Schacht, Clown Prince of Baseball and proprietor of Al Schacht's very famous restaurant in
Thank
New
you,
York,
Al.
where you made a pact with this guy not to tell that story.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Al.
Good luck.
Tin Pan Alley is exactly 4 miles from what is now the Harlem section of New York, the place of your birth on January 27, 1895. Barnett and Toby Rubenstein have 6 children, and you are the 3rd. Life on the streets of New York isn't the easiest thing for a young boy growing up, and it's a thin line that separates you from leading the simple life that you were to write about in later years, or becoming a juvenile delinquent. In fact, you came very close to the latter, didn't you, Harry,
I
one
did,
time?
Ralph, I did, yes.
You were making $15 a week, I think, and the kids thought you were crazy to work so hard for so little?
Well, what somebody said to me when I said I was working for that, I'll never forget it. It's the evil influence of a slogan. It's something that's repeated. A fellow said, I thought they were going to be impressed by that, and he said, only horses work. And every time they saw me, they said, only horses work. And the thing that happened after that, which I'm not too proud of, but I was a young man. And what are you referring to?
Well, the department store. If you've made another pact not to tell that, why, we
No,
won't
that's
tell
all.
that in
No,
the
no.
manner that Al Schacht didn't tell the other story.
You can tell it. It's all right.
You went into a department store, I think, and one fellow kind of purloined a safety razor and passed it to you, and you were scared to death.
I did, and passed it to him.
Oh, you said I did. And you were scared to death. That ended your life of crime right there, I think. And from the time that most people can remember, though, you always seemed to be at a piano, Harry.
Well, it's better to be at a piano than be in a department store shoplifting.
That's right.
I didn't know you.
Harry, remember the time the piano was in a wagon being pulled by a horse?
Boyhood pal, Harry, who was later to become your brother-in-law from New York City, Dave Russell.
Nice seeing you, kid.
A wagon is kind of a strange place to put a piano, Dave.
Not really, Ralph. You see, Harry had written a song, and I think it was his first, called I'm Going to Hold You Up Someday.
Oh, that's a wonderful title.
His father,
After the Razor episode, you know.
his father, to help him out, decided to have it published, and he invested $50. Harry, do you remember how we promoted that song?
I remember very well. We got a horse and wagon and put a piano on the wagon at 14th Street. And we sang the song, Try to Sell the Copies.
Bert Kalmar and Harry Puck. Not on a horse and wagon, but in an office on Tin Pan Alley.
Bert Calmer was my father, Ralph.
And my husband.
The wife and son of your songwriting partner, Harry, Mrs. Bert Kalmer and Bert Kalmar, Jr. Bert here was only a little boy when Harry Ruby and your husband started writing together, wasn't he, Mrs. Kalmar?
Yes, and he has many memories of it. And one in particular I think is very funny, Harry.
Well, Harry and Dad were working at our house one night. They always worked at night. And I was trying to get some sleep. And Harry has a very high, thin, piercing whistle. And he kept whistling the same tune over and over again as he played it for Dad to write the lyric. Well, I kept coming to the head of the stairs and saying, Harry, please don't whistle. I'm trying to sleep. Well, Harry kept right on whistling, and I kept right on complaining. But, Harry, I'm glad that you won, because that song turned out to be 3 little words.
Bert, I understand that Harry's love of baseball sometimes drove your father frantic.
It certainly did. One afternoon, when the New Rochelle firemen were playing I think it was the Bridgeport Fire Department, and Harry was playing his usual spot, second base. A lone horseman appeared on the horizon and galloped right down through center field and right at Harry.
Who was the horseman, Harry?
Bert Calver was on the horse
And what did he want?
broke up the ball game, and he said to me, I said, what are you doing here? We're playing a ball game. He says, I have a contract here from Ziegfeld. He wants us to do a show. Will you sign it? He gave me a pen and a contract. We both signed it, and he rode off. And that was a man.
Between Harry sneaking off to baseball games and Bert running away to sideshows to do his magic, under a phony name, of course, it's a wonder these songs ever got written. It really is a miracle.
Harry, we love you. The Kalmers always have.
Thank you, Miss Kalmar. Thank you, Bert. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Anita Gordon with Von Dexter's orchestra singing some of the hits which you, Harry Ruby, and Bert Kalmar wrote. Anita?
Sorry now, who's sorry now? Whose heart is aching for breaking each vow? I want to be loved by you, just you, and nobody else will do. I want to be loved by you, alone. Boop, boop, you. Maybe I'm right, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm weak, maybe I'm strong. But nevertheless, I'm in love with you. 3 little words. Oh, what I'd give for that wonderful phrase. I won't believe in fretting and grieving. Why mess around with strife? I never cut out to step and strut out. Give me that simple life. Give me a kiss to build a dream on, and my imagination will thrive upon that kiss. All alone Monday, singing the blues. All alone Tuesday, reading the news. Wouldn't be lonely if I were only all alone with you.
Thank you, Anita Gordon. Thank you. Harry, there's one more song that belongs here that you wrote, the beautiful Thinking of You. Now, one night in 1935, Harry, you're at a friend's home at a party, and as often happens, you're at the piano. Lovely young woman, a movie star in silent pictures, Douglas Fairbanks leading lady, here's you playing, and your music draws her to the piano. And she said,
Mr. Ruby, that's my most favorite song. I know every note and every word of it forwards and backwards.
the lovely star was, of course, Eileen Percy, now Mrs. Harry Ruby. Come on, sit down, Eileen, and tell us more about that romantic evening, would you please? You both had been married before, of course.
Both Harry and I had been married before, and my friends were forever trying to find me a husband. His friends were trying to find him a wife. And neither one of us wanted to get married.
Until you and Harry get together at the piano.
Well, he was playing Thinking of You, and I sort of went over to the piano, and I said, oh, I just love that song, Mr. Ruby. And I said, do you know by any chance who wrote that song? He says, I did. Oh, I felt like a fool because I didn't know this, and the name Harry Ruby had meant nothing to me until then.
Several months later, on May 2nd, 1936, when you become Mrs. Harry Ruby. And joining this happy union is your son by a previous marriage, Eileen, Jimmy Bush of Encino, California, and with him, your daughter, Harry, now Mrs. William Garson of New York, Toby and Jane. Well, now, Jimmy, come on here. Let's see, what is this chest that you and Toby have brought along with you, Jimmy?
Well, Ralph, this is much a part of Dad's life is the music and the baseball. You know, he's the president of the Found Money Club of America.
Yeah.
This is the treasury here.
It all started before I was born.
Yeah.
One night, Dad had a date with a pretty girl, my mother, and it seems that he only had 40 cents. And if he bought her a cup of coffee, then he couldn't take her home in the streetcar. He was walking along, and he saw something on the pavement and stopped to pick it up without her noticing it. It was a $5 bill.
That's right. And ever since, he's been spending his time looking for lost money as much as anything else.
Tell him about the time Harry found the nickel and cement on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Yes. He had been crossing at Santa Monica Boulevard and Cannon Drive, and in the middle of the street, he sees a nickel and it's embedded in the asphalt. Well, he kicked at it and he tried to get it out, and nothing doing, and he was very unhappy, and for days he'd go to see if that nickel was still there. Finally, on a Sunday morning, he couldn't stand any longer. He called two friends of his and asked them to meet him at this particular place and to bring some tools. So you can imagine, one of them was holding up the traffic while the other one was down taking out the money, and the people in Beverly Hills thought they'd all gone mad.
With the exception of his blood kin, his brothers and sisters, I know him longer than anyone in the entire amusement business.
One of your closest friends, Harry, and one of America's best-loved gentlemen, George Jessel. Georgie Jessel.
You know, Ralph, this is an interesting comment.
Have you got a stethoscope?
No.
Harry and I have been friends for, oh, God, easy. And we wrote a song together many, many years ago, the year 1919. And I think the greatest kick that any songwriters have ever had was when the Prince of Wales, then the Prince of Wales, then the King, then... Anyway, now the Duke of Windsor. But when he came to America, they took him up to the Ziegfeld Midnight Frolic atop the New Amsterdam Theater. And the first song they asked for was a song of ours, which we had written during the war, called Ooh La La, Wee Wee. Ralph, this sold 3 million copies. And that's a remarkable thing. It is. And we're going to sing it. Get over here.
Come on. Yeah. Give a little encouragement, I think.
Now, she'd say, come funny, ooh, papa, and he'd say, ooh, la, la, wee, wee. She'd smile and whisper, merci beaucoup. He'd answer, I don't mind if I do. Then each evening they would promenade upon the boulevard, you see. She'd say to him, this was a big laugh, she'd say to him, say to you, qu'est-ce que c'est? He'd say, not now, dear, but later I may. Ah-ha! He'd say, come funny, oh, papa, and he'd say, ooh, la, la, wee, wee. to say one thing about this fella. Some years ago, Alexander Walcott, a great literary figure in America, gave a verbal portrait about Harry. He looked at him at a profile picture and said, he reminds me of a dishonest Abraham Lincoln. I have another one, and this is meant in complete sincerity. I would give a verbal portrait of Harry Ruby in this manner and say that he was half baseball fanatic and the other half the sweetest man that God ever gave the breath of life.
Thank you, George Jessel. Thank you very much. Let's give Harry a chance to relax for a minute while we pause for this important message.
This is NBC Tuesday. Starting at 7:30, see Laramie, starring John Smith and Robert Fuller. The Sherman Ranch near Laramie is the locale for exciting stories based upon the friendship between Slim Sherman and saddle tramp Jess Harper. At 8:30, this man enters the scene for 30 minutes of the bizarre, the mysterious, the unexplainable. He's the master of suspense and the host for Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Then at 9, watch Thriller. Boris Karloff weaves a web entangling you in a full hour of icy suspense. Stories calculated to keep you on the edge of your chair. Each week at 10, NBC offers another special, ranging from comedy to drama, mystery to musical variety. 60 minutes of the best in entertainment. Remember, every one of these fine programs may be seen 1 hour earlier in the Central Time Zone. Tuesday over most of these NBC stations.
Now, one of the people that you've kept in touch with most frequently is your brother, Abe, in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Well, Harry, we'd made all the arrangements for him to be here with you tonight, but yesterday we received a cable from Abe saying he'd missed the last plane that would have gotten him here on time. Now, we know that you two haven't seen each other for 20 years, so we are flying Abe. He's catching the very next plane, you see. You'll be up here from Buenos Aires so that you can be reunited after all these years and spend some time together. He should be arriving in a day or so. Harry, you're surrounded by your family and friends. To make the portrait complete, here from New York City are Toby's husband, your son-in-law, William Carson, and your grandchildren, Lee, Lynn, and Laurie, and from Encino, California, Jimmy's wife, Gloria, and their children, Susan and Jeannie. Oh, look, it's Gloria, Susan, and Jeannie. Kids, you're just in time to see the beautiful gold charm bracelet we have for Grandma, designed especially for her, and presented to her by Marshall Jewelers of New York. There you are. There's the gold charm bracelet from Marshall's. And you'll all be able to see yourselves on the film of tonight's program. Sit down again, and kids, get around Grandpa over there. Which we're going to present to Grandpa, this 16-millimeter sound motion picture projector, and you can take more movies of them with this Bell & Howell Electric Eye Movie Camera, both provided by the Bell & Howell Company. Now, Harry, to make your letter writing an even greater pleasure to you, we know you do a lot of letter writing, we want you to have this brand new Remington electric typewriter, the most beautiful typewriter since typewriting went electric, furnished by Remington Rand. And now you'll be able to write more letters to Georgie Jessel and everybody you know like this is your life, Harry Ruby, a man to whom 3 little words mean safe on first as well as I love you. A man with a host of fans, as a ball player, as a composer, but mostly as a wonderful human being. Good night. God bless you.
Travel arrangements for guests on This Is Your Life are provided by TWA, Transworld Airlines, who fly the Superjet. You fly the finest when you fly TWA, the Superjet Airline. This Is Your Life has been...
This is Hollywood. Hollywood in its brightest hour. The most important occasion of the year. It's Academy Award night. There was a very special award this year. It went to Fred Astaire, and a very special person was there to present it, Miss Ginger Rogers.
To Fred Astaire, for the artistry that has brought unique delight to picture audiences and has raised the standards of all musical pictures.
Fred was away in New York on that night of nights, and he asked if I would accept this award for him. But Fred is back in Hollywood now. As a matter of fact, he's waiting right off there in the wings for his cue to come out here so that I can give it to him. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Fred Astaire. Oh, wait a minute, Fred, not so fast. You know, you're supposed to make a little acceptance speech when you get one of these.
Oh.
Tell me, Fred, how did you feel when you heard that you had won this award?
How did I feel? I don't know, George. I really don't know how I felt.
Well, what did you say?
Oh, I don't know. I know one thing, though. I was mighty proud and happy to get it.
Well, that's good enough for me. Mr. Astaire, your Oscar.
Thanks, George.
And you have never seen a better example of Fred Astaire's great artistry than Three Little Words. Starring with Fred is Red Skelton. And speaking of artistry, Red's wonderful performance is something you must see.
You don't like it, huh? Sure. It's a nice little tune. You ought to do something with it sometime. You ought to do something with that shirt, too.
Three Little Words is a grand story, a true story, based on the lives and music of two of America's greatest songwriters, Kalmar and Ruby. Fred as Bert Kalmar, Red as Harry Ruby.
The ball took a bad hop. A bad hop. We go to rehearsal in 2 weeks. What am I going to tell Sam Harris? The ball took a bad hop? You'd be delighted. You and your baseball. Every time I turn around, you're playing baseball. That's for kids stuff. Well, I suppose magic's for grown up. And then we sat down and wrote, "Ooh, sorry now. Ooh, sorry now. Sorry now." And then we stood up and wrote, "So long, ooh, long, how long you going to roam?"
Come on, Papa, in the motor car, sit by Mama, and hold the hand. I love you so much, I can't conceal it. All alone Monday, singing the blues. All alone Tuesday, reading the news.
I want to be loved by you. Ba-dum-dee-dum-dee-dum-dee-dum. Boo-boo-ba-doo.
Maybe I'll live a life of regret, and maybe I'll give much more than I get, but nevertheless I'm in love with you.
Three little words. Oh, what I'd give for that wonderful phrase.